Helen Hall Bonner. I was born right on this Chiacton Indian Reserve 90 years ago. I just want to know, what is treaty?
My name is Braden Peters and I'm from Schuylkill. My question is, what is treaty?
What is treaty? It's an agreement. It's agreement between nations. We've never signed a treaty where we've given up our land. Yet Europeans have come. They've occupied our territories. They've taken our trees. They've taken out our minerals. We've never been recognized for all that we've given up. A treaty will finally set us on the correct path as a nation. A nation with a treaty with the Canadian government. Because the federal government, when it came to the New World, decided that it needed to purchase the land from the Indians, first of all, pursuant to the Royal Proclamation of 1763. The idea of purchasing the land from the Indians recognized that Indigenous people owned the land, that they had authority over the land. And once the land was purchased, then it was opened to settlers that were coming from Europe. This process, called the treaty process, was in fact carried out in most of the provinces in Canada. In British Columbia, however, only 14 of these treaties were written on Vancouver Island between 1851 and 1853. They're called the Douglas Treaties. In recent times, after the Calder decision in the Supreme Court of Canada, the federal government decided that it wanted to deal with these rights that exist in British Columbia. The only way that these rights can be dealt with is through a treaty, a nation-to-nation negotiations process. The treaty will decide things like jurisdiction over fishing and hunting. It will decide things like government services. And in this treaty, something that should have happened years and years ago, we will form a new relationship with the federal and provincial governments, a relationship that's based on recognition of our rights and on the aspirations and desire of First Nations to become self-governing, rather than what we've been going through for the last 140 years, which has been a marginalization of our Indigenous people to Indian reserves, a marginalization of our education systems. We've lived at the edge of Canadian society in poverty for the most part. The treaty will set us on a new path for our future. What's critical about this is the Canadian government is finally recognizing us as nations, able to sit down with them as equals to create a new relationship. And a treaty has to define a new relationship, not based on the Indian Act, but rather based on our Indigenous rights. It puts us in the driver's seat, finally, as First Nations in Canada.